Hello, mate to thrive. We've got the algae expert on the show today. I've been waiting for this for a very long time. As you know, a big part of health and wellness is the toxins that have been introduced into the environment. 80,000 new toxins over the last 80 years. It's a very, very warm welcome to Dr. Catharine Arnston. She's a PhD, she's an MBA, she started ENERGYbits. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Steve. Yeah, really terrific to be here. I'm eager to get this information out to the world. So you're going to help me with that.
Absolutely. And we're going to collaborate because I think more and more light and more love needs to be shared out there in terms of how we can improve people's lives. Because I've never seen in 26 years as a physician the despair, the discouragement, the mental ill health, the lack of mental performance in the last 5 years since COVID. And that's where we need people like you and the work that you're doing. So I want you to just start with a basic question. People are listening out there. What is algae?
Yes, and I love how you say algae. Here in America, we say algae, but we're talking about the same thing. I just want to assure people it's not too different. It's tomato or tomato, potato, potato. Algae or algae is actually was the first life on Earth 4 billion years ago. It's all proven in science, evolutionary science. It was a cyanobacteria like spirulina, which is why I now call spirulina spiritualina, because there's something very spiritual about being the first life on Earth. So in addition to being the first life, not just first plant, but first life, algae is a food. It is a food category because it's not technically a vegetable, and it's certainly not an animal. And so within the category of algae, there's two subcategories. One is called macroalgae, and the other one is microalgae. We're going to be speaking primarily about microalgae today, but let me tell you what macroalgae is too. It's that stringy stuff that you see washing up on shore, also known as seaweed or dulse or kelp. And it's called seaweed because it's only in the sea. And it's very still good for you because it has high protein, high iodine because it's come from the ocean, but it has virtually zero nutrition, okay? High fiber, only a few strains, only in the sea, but virtually no nutrition. Microalgae, which is what we're talking about today, is completely opposite. First of all, it's everywhere. Yes, it is in the sea, but it's also in the rivers and the lakes and the soil, your aquarium, your swimming pool, and it's grown primarily in Asia as an agricultural crop. It's grown what's called hydroponically, and so and we grow ours in Taiwan. But I'm showing you pictures here of a spirulina and a chlorella farm. So spirulina and chlorella are two microalgae, and we're going to do a deep dive on those today. But I do want you to know that they are agricultural foods, not a supplement. So back to microalgae, it's grown everywhere, and it is completely opposite to macroalgae because it has either no fiber. The stuff in the ocean is all high fiber. Spirulina has zero fiber. It's because it's a bacteria. So microalgae either has zero fiber or a little fiber like chlorella, which does belong to the plant kingdom. And here's the big drum roll, mic drop. It is the most nutrient-dense food in the universe. Wow. We have a quote from NASA that says 1 gram of algae has the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of vegetables. 1 to 1,000. There is nothing in the world with more nutrition than spirulina or chlorella algae, as you're going to learn. And it's also been endorsed by the United Nations. Again, mic drop. Why? Because it has the highest protein in the world. 3 times the amount of protein as steak or chicken or fish. Ours has 64% protein. United Nations had a global conference on spirulina algae 50 years ago and declared it the answer to world hunger because of this high protein and because it's a sustainable, eco-friendly crop. So microalgae, completely opposite to macroalgae, very nutrient dense. It's everywhere, endorsed by international agencies, and is grown as an agricultural crop. Now, there are tens of thousands of strains of microalgae. The two most common are blue-green and green. And why are they called blue, green, and green? Well, it's because of the pigments that are found in them. A green algae only has the pigment chlorophyll. The chlorophyll is what makes plants green. A blue-green algae has 2 pigments in it, the green one, but also a blue one called phycocyanin. So these are And spirulina and chlorella are two examples of a blue-green algae and a green algae. There are others, but these are the two that represent 99.9% of algae that you're eating or growing or consuming. And again, spirulina is a blue-green algae because it has the blue pigment phycocyanin. If you put it in water, you'll see this beautiful blue. It's like an Aegean Sea. That phycocyanin pigment has really powerful healing properties. One of which is scientifically proven, is to kill cancer cells. And I can explain the methodology by which that happens. But again, chlorella is a green algae because it only has the chlorophyll. By the way, the blue pigment is water-based, which is why it disperses evenly through water. And chlorophyll is actually a fat-based pigment, which is why you see it doesn't disperse evenly. And I can explain the importance of that later on. So blue, green, and green are two of the main microalgae. Spirulina is a main blue-green algae. Chlorella is a main green algae. And they do completely different things in your body, which is why you want to have both of them. And I can explain the differences for you next.
Brilliant. Great summary. And I think that's important to know. Just as a summary, spirulina, blue, phycocyanins, and then chlorella, which has got the chlorophyll in, that is going to be, well, what it's got chlorophyll in, and that's going to be more for your detox. Am I right?
Yes. Yes, but the blue-green spirulina does have chlorophyll. It's the other half of the pigments.
Okay.
But chlorella is the only detoxing algae. It's way more than cleansing. It's a chelator. And I can explain to you, if you'd like, the difference between the two of them and what the mechanisms are and the nutrients found in each of them that have these different properties and different actions in your body and in your brain, because they are quite significantly different. And depending on what your goal is, you might want one over the other, or what we generally recommend is both. But sometimes you only want one, and so depending on what your biggest need is, that would determine which algae that you take. So let's put
the frame in. We've been running cognoscopies, not colonoscopies, for quite a few years now, using Dale Bredeson's protocol. And what we've seen with our business executives, our corporate leaders, our entrepreneurs, is that mental performance is decreasing, in some cases plummeting, and people are complaining of brain fog. They've got the hyperactive hive mind. They can't do complex tasks. And we've seen this in the objective scores. So take us through the frame of both, the importance of chlorella and the importance of spirulina, how you would take them, and what the dosages would be if you want to improve mental performance.
Yes, and I'm so glad that you're addressing that, because particularly in the executive suite in corporations, by the time someone is in the executive suite, they're usually in their 50s or 60s because they've acquired all that business expertise, and so they should be performing optimally. And unfortunately, what we're finding is that's just not the case. And so, because they're getting this, as you mentioned, brain fog, or they're having heart attacks, or developing other chronic illnesses. Because all of these chronic illnesses, whether it's a brain related one or other body parts, they kick in after the age of 40, and they really escalate at 50. And I'll tell you exactly why this is happening. It's not just detrimental, clearly, for the individual. It's also detrimental for the company, because they have groomed this executive suite for so many years, invested so much time in these individuals, and suddenly, just when they're supposed to be at their optimal performance, they crash. Mentally, physically, and it's a long road back to get them back, if they get them back at all. And so we really want to help people and companies protect their investment and protect their lives. And it's like a lot of things. If you know the recipe, it's relatively easy, but of course no one's explaining this to you or what the ingredients are in your recipe. So that's what I'm going to do. So what's going on that's causing this drop in mental performance, brain fog, and other health issues that jeopardize people, particularly after the age of 40? Well, we know that after the age of 40, for women, for example, they get into perimenopause and menopause. And it's particularly as you get into menopause and you're closer to 50, things start changing. Your body just does not perform the way it does. And a lot of that is because of your hormonal changes that occur. Estrogen stops being produced once you get into menopause. And what people don't know is that estrogen has a antioxidant effect on the mitochondria. So women suffer these issues, these brain issues and other health issues more than men, because as you're going to find out, everybody loses a particular antioxidant after the age of 40 and certainly after 50, but women get hit twice as hard because they lose the estrogen, which has a similar neutralizing effect on the mitochondria. So before I get into the deep dive of what's going on, let me explain to you what the mitochondria are, because this is the linchpin for health, mental health, physical health, longevity, performance. Everything depends on mitochondria health. And what are they? They are these little organelles that are found in all of your cells that generate what's called cellular energy. It's also known as ATP. Now, this isn't energy just to run to the grocery store or have a workout. This is cellular energy that helps propels your neurotransmitters to work, your lymphatic system to work, your heartbeat, your lungs. Absolutely everything in your body requires this stuff called cellular energy, also known as ATP. So think about it. In an office, you can't do any work. You can be top of your game, but if your light bulbs go out or you get a power shut down, you're in the black. You're in the darkness. You can't do any work. So let's say your lights go out and you just call maintenance and they turn the lights back on or they replace the bulb that went out for you. Easy peasy. Well, in your body, the same thing happens. As you get older, the mitochondria, the mitochondria generate all of that electricity. They're the light bulbs and the electricity. So they are required for everything that you do, absolutely everything. But as you get older, they get damaged and they decrease in number. And the reason why that is happening, because you are losing after the age of 40 a very important antioxidant that protects your mitochondrial DNA from free radical damage. That antioxidant has a very long name. I'll say it for you, but I'll tell you the short form as well. The long term is superoxide dismutase, and the short form for that is SOD. Think of SOD as your SOS for your mitochondria, okay? Now, what's going on? Why is your SOD decreasing in quantity so it's no longer able to protect your mitochondria? Well, here's the deal. We have been on Earth for 2 million years. Now, we have died at the age of 30 for the vast majority of that period. We've started living longer only about 150 years ago. Evolutionarily, our body, our biology thinks we're dying at 30. So nature is so efficient. It knows that if something's going to end soon, it's going to start slowing down production of certain things. Just like here in North America, in the Northeast, when we get into the fall, autumn season, the light is not as strong. And so the leaves start turning yellow and orange because there's not enough light to generate all those beautiful green leaves. There's not enough chlorophyll. It's just a slowdown. It's a seasonal slowdown. Our bodies are the same way, except the seasonal slowdown occurs at the age of 30 because Mother Nature thinks and has programmed us to prepare for death after the age of 30. So after the age of 30, and certainly by 40, things like hormones slow down. This is why women don't have estrogen. Things like melatonin slows down. These are all things that your body makes for you. It also slows down the production of this stuff called superoxide dismutase, which you have from the moment you're born, also known as SOD. So what does superoxide dismutase do? Well, it protects your mitochondria from free radical damage. And what is free radicals? We all know well, let me remind you in case you don't know. A free radical is a molecule with an unpaired electron. And so nature strives for balance and harmony. And so an unpaired a free radical will try to steal an electron from a neighboring molecule to balance itself out, which leaves that molecule unstable. So it steals another electron. This is how tissue damage occurs. Now, the good news is there's these things called antioxidants, which I'm sure you've heard of. And things like vitamin A, vitamin C, blueberries have a lot of antioxidants. These are molecules with extra electrons, and they give the electron away to the free radical to calm it down, balance it out so it won't damage any tissue and steal electrons from other molecules. Well, that's normally what happens. However, in your mitochondria, the mitochondria have a second inner membrane that is impenetrable by virtually all antioxidants. So you can eat a room full of blueberries and virtually none of those antioxidants will get in to stop the free radicals that are a byproduct of ATP. Because ATP, which is that cellular energy, nobody talks about the fact that a byproduct are free radicals. It's just the way it is. So you need antioxidants to neutralize those free radicals, except most can't get in there. It's like being in an ICU unit. It's in lockdown. There are a handful that can get in there. One is glutathione, one is chlorophyll, and the third one is superoxide dismutase, which is the most important one. And you may wonder why. Why is superoxide dismutase the most important antioxidant, period? Well, because the type of free radical that is released during the ATP process is called superoxide. It's only generated in the mitochondria. And what makes it so damaging? More damaging than any other free radical? It's because it has 3 unpaired electrons. Not just 1, 3. So this antioxidant, which is called superoxide dismutase, by the way, dismutase means to dim. You think you dim a light. Dismutase reduces the superoxide to water and oxygen, so it neutralizes it, so it can't damage the the DNA of the mitochondria. The way I describe it to people is, if you've ever seen one of those big golf umbrellas, whether you're a golfer or a shopper, if you have one of those big golf umbrellas and you're stuck in a rainstorm, you pop up that big golf umbrella, you're protected. You could get like 5 or 6 people under one of those big golf umbrellas, right? Now, think about it. You haven't stopped the rain, but you've stopped the rain of drops getting to you because you're protected. That's what superoxide does, superoxide dismutase does. It does not stop the rain of free radicals, but it neutralizes them to protect the mitochondria like a big golf umbrella. And this works from the moment you're born until the age of 30, when your body thinks it's preparing for death. So it slows down the production of things like superoxide dismutase. So by the time you're 40, that big golf umbrella is about the size of a city totes umbrella. So now your mitochondrial DNA are dodging a little bit of free radicals, not all of them, but they're getting hit with some of them and they're dying, some of them. By the time you're 50, which is when all your executives are really supposed to be hitting their stride, you have no golf umbrella, you have no umbrella at all, because your body has stopped the production of that superoxide dismutase. This is exactly when brain fog, heart disease, cancer, metabolic issues, fatigue kick in. And I believe, and science has proven, that it's because your body no longer has superoxide dismutase to protect the mitochondria, and your mitochondria are what keep the lights on in your brain and in your body. And if you don't have mitochondria performing, you simply aren't performing either. And the brain is the most affected. Why? Because it has the most mitochondria. There are 2 million mitochondria per cell in your brain. So when your superoxide dismutase is no longer available and your mitochondria are being damaged and dying, guess where the largest amount of death and damage is occurring? In your brain. But I have good news. I have a way to give you back your big golf umbrella. And you know what it is? It's spirulina algae. There's 25,000 studies or more listed in scientific libraries proving that superoxide dismutase stops inflammation, stops Alzheimer's, proven, stops Alzheimer's, stops any kind of brain disorder, stops heart disease. All these is 25,000. The scientists, however, or consumers don't know yet that spirulina algae has the highest concentration of superoxide dismutase in the universe. But there's a catch. superoxide dismutase is also an enzyme, and enzymes are deactivated by high heat. And most of the lesser quality algae, which tend to be lower priced algae that's on the market, or greens powders, which may have spirulina in it, they all use high heat to dry the algae to get to market quickly, or to mix the powders. And what does high heat do? It deactivates that superoxide dismutase because it's an enzyme. It deactivates all the enzymes. So it's like getting a great deal on a fabulous car, except you lift the hood and there's no engine in it.
Wow.
Looks great, doesn't perform. So when you want to regain or protect your brain and your mitochondria, you need active superoxide dismutase. Our spirulina and chlorella are raw because we've never used high heat to dry the algae. You could also get fresh spirulina or frozen spirulina, and it will have the same impact on your mitochondria. However, they're very expensive. You can't travel with it. They expire quickly. They taste terrible. So all of this goes away when you take our spirulina, because the spirulina and the chlorella come in tiny tablets, about the size of a baby aspirin. And so you can travel with it. If you don't like the flavor, you swallow them. There's no repeat of nothing. I chew mine because I like the flavor. The spirulina is very high in protein, so it's very chewy and can stick a bit to your teeth for a brief moment. But the great thing about it is that it's effortless. It lasts 3 years. 3 years. Right? What vegetable will last 3 years? None. And it's got 40 vitamins and minerals and that rich concentration of superoxide dismutase. Now, the other reason why, and there is some superoxide dismutase in chlorella as well, but 2/3 less. So spirulina, this is why I call spirulina brain food. We all know that fatty fish are known as brain food, primarily because of the omega-3 that is found in them. And I remind people, well, where do you think the fish got the omega-3 from? They got it from algae. They didn't make the omega-3, they consumed it from the algae and then they consolidated it in their bodies. But of course, the ocean is so damaged now, and there's microplastics. You're better off getting your omega-3 and essential fatty acids from the source, the same source the fish get it from, which is algae. The other thing I prefer spirulina if your focus, if your emphasis and need is brain performance, brain protection, is because remember I mentioned that spirulina is a bacteria. It's a cyanobacteria. Why is that important for you to know? Because there is no cellulose wall for your body to have to break down to get access to all the protein, all the nutrients, and the superoxide dismutase that's going to turn the lights back on in your mitochondria. So the lights in your brain can get back on. By the way, it also protects your telomeres. So it's very, very powerful for brain health. But it gets, and I was telling Dr. Steve, I found some additional research that's very, very powerful that I'm going to share with you for the very first time. So the thing you need to know is that the reason why you're struggling, why you have fatigue, weight gain, brain fog, all these issues, health issues that kick in at 50, is because your mitochondria are getting damaged by all those free radicals. And unless you get superoxide dismutase back into your body, that damage will continue and escalate because there's fewer and fewer mitochondria generating cellular energy, which means there's less and less cellular energy for your body to do anything with, for thinking, for healing, for sleeping, nothing. It's a downward spiral, which we can change that conversion and get you back on track. And you were asking me, and I'll get to the new research in a second, but you were asking me about quantities and when to take them. Well, spirulina is generally known as an energizing algae, which is why we call ours ENERGYbits. So the time to take spirulina is when you want to have energy mentally and physically, or when you're hungry. Remember, it's loaded with all that rich protein. By the way, it has 18 of the 20 aminos, including the 9 your body can't make. So it's a complete protein. So when are you tired and hungry? Well, for most people, it's in the morning when you wake up. It's at lunchtime. It's in the afternoon, that 2 o'clock slump. It's before a workout. Now, remember, spirulina and chlorella are food. So there's no upper limit. We have NHL players that take 75 spirulina before a hockey game because it gives them all that energy on the ice, all that focus on the ice. The average person, 10 tablets, again, they're very tiny, they're about the size of a green baby aspirin. 10 tablets would be your starting amount, your starting dose for all. And by the way, there's so many nutrients, minerals, and vitamins. It will replace your fish oil, your collagen powder, your multivitamin, your CoQ10, your biotin. So as long as you're taking at least 10 a day, you can eliminate about 5 other supplements right off the top. It will,
Wow. And has that
and
been proven, Dr. Catherine?
yes, yes, because there's so much. And remember, this is food. Why is food so important? Because your body recognizes it. We're from nature, so things that are food, like eggs, or in my case, or I'm bullish about grass-fed animal protein or vegetables. Those all have one ingredient. So does algae. And when you eat food, there are things called enzymes and coenzymes and factors and cofactors, which leverage each other up so that you get maximum nutritional value. The problem is, as you get older, you have fewer digestive enzymes, and many people have compromised health, which means they have compromised digestion. So even if you eat other food, you're not always getting the nutrients that you used to because of your compromised digestion and inability to absorb the nutrients. This is where spirulina shines again, because it is 99% bioavailable and absorbed instantly if you chew it, because it goes in what's called sublingually through your mouth, and within about 10 minutes through your bloodstream. So it's very bioavailable protein, superoxide dismutase. And when you eat food, it's like listening to an orchestra. All the harmonies, work, all the instruments, all the nuances. You listen, you hear something that is richer than just a couple of soloists. I consider individual supplements a soloist. And maybe these soloists are playing different music and that they're on different instruments. So it sounds like static. It's not pleasurable, and they don't up level each other like you get from food, particularly spirulina. So Mother Nature's done all the heavy lifting for you. She's put all these great nutrients in the right composition together for you. I can't take credit for algae, but I can take credit here at ENERGYbits for growing it so carefully that we preserve the nutrients for you so you get maximum value, maximum output, maximum benefits. So 10 would be a starter dose, 30 tablets, and they're very, very tiny, could be lunch. There's only 1 calorie per tablet. They're ketogenic. They don't interfere with a fast. They don't break a fast. They're vegan. They're grown organically. They're paleo. There's nothing more ancestral than spirulina because it was the first life on Earth. So you could have 30 for lunch. If you're on a GLP-1 or a weight loss, please take these, because if you're not eating properly, or even if you are, remember, you're probably not absorbing. This will protect your muscle. This will from wasting because you're not eating enough protein. So 30 would be lunch. And if you want to correct a health condition, particularly for our executives who are struggling with brain fog, you want 30. 30 is the therapeutic dose. 10 would get you started. 30 would be a therapeutic dose. And you could have more. Remember, our NHL players take 75. Now, and we'll mention this later on. We do have a discount code for your community. Yeah. So if you're thinking, well, if I have to take 10 a day, like how much is this going to cost me? Almost nothing. We have a 20% discount code for you, Thrive. A large bag of 1,000 tablets is normally $130. The discount code gets you down to $104. So if you took 10 a day, you know what that works out to? $1 a day. Sure. $1 a day to protect your brain health, to get your or get it back. Or 30, and if you took 30, it would last you a bag. 10 a day would last you 3 months. If you took 30 for therapeutic amounts, a bag will last you a month. But then you're still looking at $3 a day for getting your brain health back, plus muscles, 40 vitamins and minerals. Think of all the other things you don't have to take. So very efficient nutrition, very therapeutic because of all that superoxide dismutase and also the blue pigment, the phycocyan, and protects your telomeres. So I can't stress enough how important superoxide dismutase is to protect your mitochondria. and your mitochondria, because of the density in your brain, must be protected if you want to think sharp, think well for long periods of time, get your maximum value out of your own life, out of your job. It's a godsend, and you can't argue with 25,000 studies about superoxide dismutase. The world just doesn't know yet that it's found in spirulina if it's untreated with high heat. So that's the mic drop moment. We can get your brain functioning again, and it literally within 24 hours. It does not take long. When you take 10 or more of these, you will feel more alert within half an hour. The best way I describe how you will feel is fresh. That's it. No drama. And it's not a stimulant, by the way. There's no caffeine, chemicals, or sugar. When you take a stimulant, like any of those, it's like putting paper on a fire. You get a burst of energy, but then you get a crash. Spirulina is like putting a log on the fire because the energy is not a stimulant, it's at the cellular level. So I call it quiet energy. It's very steady, it's very quiet. You almost don't notice it except you suddenly realize, wow, I'm not hungry anymore, or wow, I'm feeling really fresh, and you didn't even work at it, which is why it's great for a pre-workout as well. So this will help you run further or faster or lift more, and you won't even notice it. So it's really very, very powerful. But I've uncovered some.
I want to jump in there just talking about firstly, because there's so many products out there, and the common question I get from clients and patients is, well, this powder is going to be much cheaper. Are you saying that as soon as it could be organic? I mean, I've been on the internet and there's spirulina sort of manufacturers here, but as soon as you make it a powder, you have to heat it. Now that destroys what exactly?
Well, it doesn't, not necessarily, because the process we go through, which is why we're so well known for having high quality, is we create powder first and then we press it into the tablet form. But we don't use high heat when we create the powder. We shoot it up into the air and without the high heat. It's the high heat that is deactivated the superoxide dismutase. So you can make powder without high heat, but 99% of companies don't. Because I only started this company. I wasn't planning on starting a company. I don't know if I told you my story. I just wanted to help my sister recover from breast cancer. Her oncologist told her to change her diet to an alkaline diet. I helped her research what that was, which was a plant-based diet, which led me to algae, the most alkaline food in the world. So, and I thought I could just help more people with algae. But I started the company just to help my sister. So I didn't start this company and we don't sell anything else except algae. Most other companies who are selling spirulina or chlorella tablets, they're big companies. I won't name any brands, but they could have anywhere from 50 to 500 other products. And so they're profit driven. Nothing wrong with being profit driven. However, they put profits ahead of people. And so they want to sell as much as they can, as fast as they can. And one of the ways they do that without spirulina and chlorella algae is they use high heat to dry it so it dries faster, so they can get to market faster. And when you mix powders, these green powders that have multiple ingredients, you pretty much always have to use high heat to blend it. It's just the way it is. There may be some exceptions. I'm not aware of any myself, but there could be exceptions. So I don't want to, say everybody is like that, but the vast majority are. And when you apply high heat to anything, so high heat is over 114 Fahrenheit. That's when enzymes are deactivated. So as soon as you do that,
how's the consumer going to know? I mean, this is,
I know.
You go onto the internet now, you see different prices. I mean, I've just had a look at one of the big suppliers here in Africa, and for a whole bag of powder, it's like 300 Rand, which is probably about, $15, for a month. I mean, the person's are confused, then it's got a big organic sort of name there. So now it's organic. So now, and it's free of mold. But it's difficult for the person to know whether if firstly the quality of the product. Have you seen changes in deep sleep using your product, or maybe heart
Yes.
rate
Well,
variability? So people can say, okay, well, let me try this now. Let me try ENERGYbits, then I'm going to try this other organic product, and then my deep sleep improves or my heart rate variability improves.
Yes. Well, we've done two of our own small clinical trials because we wanted to know for sure, what is making ours work so well. We get so many, like literally thousands of testimonials. Customers just write us in to tell us how, their cancer markers dropped or their Alzheimer's, their dementia, was gone within 24 hours. It's never ending. Or the kids, this is great for autism or kids on the spectrum or ADHD because it has so much powerful superoxide dismutase that's working on your brain. But we did two small clinical trials, and I'll just give you a quick summary. One was about a year ago. We worked with a nonprofit group here in America called Gray Team, grayteam.org. Their goal is to stop the suicide rate of military veterans, which is a heartbreaking 35 to 50%. It's just crazy. So they were trying just about everything. So we did a small trial with a small group of their veterans who had been discharged for over 10 years, but who still had post-traumatic stress disorder and were having difficulty sleeping and just their brain wasn't functioning. So we did a brain scan before we did the trial to get a baseline. It showed all of them, the brain was blue. It's a blue color, so it shows there's no activity. So it's massive inflammation. And then we gave the participants one pouch of spirulina, 30 tablets a day. They were told not to change anything else, don't change their diet, their routine. We hooked them up to what's called a WAVI machine, which measures their heart rate variability and a bunch of other things. And then 30 days later, we did another brain scan. And in the 30 days, and if we'd done it in 7 days, we would have probably seen the same results. The brain activity had all come back. All the colors were there. One gentleman had multiple sclerosis, his tremors went away. So one person's HRV increased 50%, which is unbelievable. So even within 30 days, it was a small group of people, but we found massive brain improvement from just the 30 tablets. So that was one example. Then I guess that was 2 years ago. Then last year we did another small trial. And this one was with people over the age of 50. Again, small group, half women, half men. And we worked with a company called MeScreen. You can get these tests online. It's mescreen.com. So what do? They have a simple blood test that tests the functionality and the optimal state of your mitochondria. So with this small group, we gave them a MeScreen blood test that you just mail it in. They had their team at the University of Southern California was the lab and the team analyzing all the data. And Hemal Patel was overseeing the study for us. He's Dr. Joe Dispenza's main researcher, just so you know. We had a really great group of people working on it. So we did the blood test. Then we gave them the spirulina for a week, did another MeScreen blood test, sent the results in. Within those 7 days alone, the results showed that the mitochondria health had increased, the ATP production had increased, the capacity to produce additional ATP had increased, the reactive oxygen species, which are free radicals, had decreased. There were a number of markers just within 7 days, and Dr. Patel said the only time he had seen anything even similarly as positive as what our study had shown was when he had worked with a large group the previous year on intermittent fasting. And after 90 days of intermittent fasting, he had found some of the improvements of the ATP as had been indicated in our study. Only some of ours was better. So after 7 days of taking spirulina, the results were better than 90 days of intermittent fasting. And you may be wondering, well, what does intermittent fasting do for the mitochondria? Well, your mitochondria, as I mentioned, they generate all the cellular energy for you. And a byproduct are these free radicals. And I want to get back to this new science that I've discovered. Now, if you don't have superoxide dismutase getting rid of those free radicals, they stay in the cell and they damage the mitochondria, which reduces the amount of oxygen, which makes them acidic, which then makes them more susceptible to disease, and they're not performing optimally. So your mitochondria, decrease in quality of activity. Now, when you are not eating, when you're doing intermittent fasting, you're shrinking your eating window to a short period of time. So that means there's a large period of time when there isn't food coming in for your mitochondria to convert to ATP. So what does that do? It gives them a break. It gives them a little bit of a rest so they can clean up. It's like, when you have a teenager and they're constantly going out and, hanging out with their friends and are going to sports, and they come back and they throw their clothes in the room, and there's more clothes and more clothes and more clothes. Soon you can't see the floor, you can't see the bed. It's because they're so busy. Finally, mom puts her foot down and says, you clean up your room today or you're grounded. So in your mitochondria, when you aren't bombarding them with all that food to digest, it's like the kid being told, okay, clean up your room. The mitochondria go, oh, I finally have a break. I can get rid of some of these free radicals. I can repair my cell membrane. I can restore the oxygen levels so it's not as damaging, and get optimal performance again. So that process is called autophagy. Autophagy is the cleaning up of your mitochondria, like the cleaning up of the teenager's room with all those clothes. And also during when you go through intermittent fasting, there's another level of cleanup, which is even beyond the cleanup. It's called apoptosis, which is programmed cellular death. Now you might think sometimes, oh, cellular death, I don't want my cells to die. Yes, you do. Because it's sort of like when someone's worked 50 years at a company and they put in a great career, but they're now getting older and it's time to retire. So what they do is they give all their knowledge and all of their projects to the new generation so they can continue on with the great work. And that process is called apoptosis, where the cell divides itself into multiple other smaller cells without any inflammation, without any damage, so the work can continue and you have new neurogenesis of your mitochondria. So that's the way you want programmed cell death. And if that process does not occur, what happens is the mitochondria get so full of free radicals because of this great damage, and I'm going to show you an illustration of what that looks like. Eventually, they explode. And all of those free radicals and all that garbage that should have been cleaned out but never was spreads to the rest of the cells. It spreads to the rest of the mitochondria. And this is why things like cancer spread so quickly, because cancer cells can't go through this apoptosis because they don't know they're sick. And this is why cancer spreads so quickly. So this autophagy that you get from intermittent fasting, or apoptosis, which you also get from intermittent fasting, you also get from algae. So it's not just the superoxide dismutase that protects the mitochondria. You get all these other benefits, this cellular cleaning, this cellular triggering of apoptosis. So it's 1 + 1 = 10. And I haven't even told you the new science that will convince you even further. It certainly convinced me how crazy this superoxide dismutase is and how essential it is for our health. Listen, Mother Nature is so clever. Our bodies are such a unique, refined piece of machinery. There's nothing more perfect than our bodies. If we didn't need superoxide dismutase, it wouldn't be in our bodies from the moment we're born as it is. The sad, unfortunate situation is it slows down and stops being produced for us by the age of 40, because we are programmed biologically to prepare for death after the age of 30. It's just the way it is. So we desperately need this superoxide dismutase, because guess what? We're living to 60, 70, 80, 90 without that golf umbrella. You're getting drenched. Your mitochondria are getting drenched in free radicals. This is what's causing brain damage. This is what's causing brain fog, heart disease. It's all proven in science. We just need the world to know that you can get superoxide dismutase in spirulina if it's unheated. And you're right. It's very hard to find out whether, but the analogy is 99% of the lower priced algae has been exposed to high heat. The reason why they're lower prices is because their business model is to sell high volume. And if you're going to sell high volume, you need to get to market quickly. There are a few exceptions, but that's just the way it is. Yeah. And all I can do is tell people we're doctor endorsed. We do third-party lab tests. We test for our superoxide dismutase. We test for about 100 different nutrients. And so I can assure you it's in our algae and it's active. And we also have testimonials from customers that confirm that. So it is so all I would say to people is, go where the doctors are going, use the products that they are recommending, and just do your best due diligence. The cheap algae generally is grown in China and India. We grow ours in Taiwan. So if you find algae grown in Taiwan, there's a slightly better chance that it's better quality, but not a guarantee, because again, there are lower priced algae companies that are still based in Taiwan. It's the gold standard for high quality, high nutrient dense spirulina and chlorella for sure.
Okay, great. Well, I do want to get into the science, but let's talk about how important chlorella is from a
Yes.
detox perspective. And I think what it contains is chlorophyll, how important it is. And for the person who's listening out there, you're struggling just with, mental performance, tired, mental fatigue. When you practice so long, people used to come in with a lot of pain. Now they're coming in with mental fatigue, just fatigue. In terms of, what this chlorella does.
Yes. So chlorella showed up on Earth 1 billion years after spirulina, and it does belong to the plant kingdom. I design all the packaging, so that's why I put a plant on the package, whether it's a bag or a box. And spirulina came from the ocean, and it's a blue-green algae. So I'm trying to give people cues so they can remember. Some people tell me, "Oh, I want 2 blue bags and 2 green bags." That's fine. Just so blue is spirulina, and it's energizing, first life on Earth from the ocean. Chlorella is a green algae, is a plant, and it has healing properties, so it helps you recover your health, which is why we call ours ENERGYbits. So we're trying to help people understand the difference. So chlorella, spirulina, as I mentioned earlier, has the highest protein in the world. Well, chlorella's big claim to fame is it has the highest chlorophyll in the world. That's why it's called chlorella, because of the chlorophyll. And what's so important about chlorophyll? Well, there's a lots of different things, but I'm going to show you this. This shows you the chemical composition of chlorophyll is virtually identical to the chemical composition of your hemoglobin. The only difference is your hemoglobin has an iron atom in the middle and chlorophyll has magnesium. The iron atom is what carries oxygen in your blood. But the bottom line is that chlorophyll builds your blood. And it's been used for centuries that way. After people would have surgeries, they would give them liquid chlorophyll, even as recent as the World War II. The problem is our food supply, and even if you are eating vegetables, our soils are so damaged, there are no nutrients in the soils for the plants to pull up. And so they're nutrient deprived. You get fiber and calories, but you're not getting nutrition, including chlorophyll. There just is not enough chlorophyll in your plants any longer to have therapeutic benefits. And so chlorella has 500 times more chlorophyll than arugula. These are numbers from the Linus Pauling Institute, by the way, and 25 times more chlorophyll than liquid chlorophyll. So I'm so happy if you're taking liquid chlorophyll, but you can totally up level to take chlorella because you'll get 25 times more chlorophyll. Plus, you'll get 60% protein, 40 vitamins and minerals. When you take chlorophyll water, you're only getting chlorophyll. Again, it's the supplement, it's the soloist. This is the orchestra. You get way more chlorophyll plus other goodies. So it builds your blood. Chlorophyll is also, as I mentioned earlier, a fat-based pigment. Why is that important? Because all of your cell membranes are made of what's called lipids. It's a fancy way of saying fats. So when you are taking chlorophyll at a therapeutic amount, like you would find in chlorella, it's healing your cell walls, just like an omega-3 or a D or a vitamin A. And you need these healthy fats because your cells need to be healthy and to allow nutrients in and toxins out. Which gets me to the next reason why you want chlorella. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Because it not only cleanses and builds your blood, and it heals, it detoxes you of heavy metals and all pesticides. So we're talking lead, mercury, radiation, glyphosate, alcohol, by the way, lactic acid. This is why athletes use it as a post-workout. So it pulls all these heavy metals out because of the hard cell wall you find in chlorella. Remember, spirulina has no cellulose wall at all. Chlorella has the hard cell wall. So it pulls out those toxins. And then, of course, the chlorophyll also builds the cell wall itself because it's a fat-based pigment. Think of the toxins this way. I live in Boston, and parking is at a premium here. So a lot of people pay a lot of money for parking spots, and during the snowstorms, they'll mark their spot on the street with, orange cones so somebody else won't take them. But the reality is, some people just take your parking spot. It's just the way it is. So if someone's in your parking spot, you can't park. You can't get in there. If you have toxins sitting on your cell walls in what's called a cell receptor, even if you're eating spirulina with the great nutrition, it can't get in because the toxin is sitting on the cell wall, blocking it. So you need to get a tow truck, pull out that toxin so you can park in your rightfully owned parking spot. Chlorella will pull out the toxins to allow the nourishment in from the spirulina. This is why they work so well together. Think of spirulina as nourishment in, chlorella as toxins out. In and out. It doesn't get any more simpler than that. And for your brain, you have, again, 2 million mitochondria per cell, and those cell walls, often if you have aluminum or other metals in your brain, and we're all getting this because we're so exposed, the average adult in North America, probably all around the world, have 700 toxins in their bodies, and our immune systems weren't built to sustain that amount of toxic load. Your brain has its own lymphatic immune health system, but it also gets bogged down. And so what happens is these tau proteins sit on the top of the cell, which prevents the mitochondria from functioning properly. And so you need to pull those, and that's caused by some of these heavy metals like aluminum. So chlorella will pull those toxins and heavy metals out so the mitochondria can function better again, and you can nourish them and restore them with the superoxide dismutase and the blue phycocyanin. So this is why chlorella is very much a detoxing algae, but it does more than that. It has 40 vitamins and minerals that build your immune system, because, by the way, 80% of your immune system is in your gut. And it has that fiber that feeds the gut biome, which are the healthy bacteria in your gut. They're the ones that are helping your immune system be stronger. And here's the other cool thing. Chlorella stimulates what's called peristalsis, a fancy word for bowel movement, because it's not just what the nourishment is in that you're putting in with the spirulina. You have to get rid of what I call the junk in your trunk, because the stuff that's in your colon is stuff your body didn't want. The pesticides, the glyphosates, the alcohol, the heavy metals, yada, yada, yada. So and the trouble is, a lot of people, as they get older, or if they're on medications, or they're eating dairy, or they're stressed, or they're traveling, or they're eating carbs, well, that's about 95% of us, they get constipated. So you're not having daily bowel movements. And the way I tell this to people, it's like having a garbage truck parked in front of your house permanently. You need to have those bowel movements. Chlorella does the trick. So we like to get, and it has healing properties. It has what's called, it has the highest glutathione in the world, by the way, which is a very detoxing antioxidant for your liver. And it has the highest tryptophan in the world, which is a precursor to melatonin and serotonin. Melatonin is what helps you get into a deep sleep. So this is why we recommend chlorella before bed. You can take it any time of day, but please take it before bed, because this is when, while you're getting your beauty rest, your body is going through a detox repair cycle. This is why sleep is the miracle drug. And if you can't get to sleep, you're not repairing, you're not detoxing. And of course, this means you've got more buildup of toxins that are sitting on those receptor cells. So the great nourishment can't get in if you are taking spirulina. You can see how it's a downward spiral. And a lot of people can't eat vegetables because as you get older, you have fewer digestive enzymes. So it gives them gas, or a lot of people just don't like vegetables, or guys and kids are notorious for not eating them. They go bad quickly. They're a lot of work. You don't need to eat another vegetable again, honestly, in your life if you're taking chlorella algae every single day, because it does everything that the vegetables do. It has phytonutrients, it has chlorophyll, it has protein, it stimulates bowel movements. These are all the things that you get from fiber, but you don't need that fiber if you are taking this. So just like spirulina, 10 tablets before bed would give you the immune health and help with the peristalsis, but for detox and therapeutic benefits, you do need the full 30. So 30 before bed if you're healing or want to heal from something, if you're an athlete and you want to pull out lactic acid, if you had a cocktail or a glass of wine, it works every single time. You'll be stone sober in an hour and a half and you will never have a hangover the next morning. Wow. So it's a very nourishing, cleansing, and it's like your rehab. Think of your chlorella as your rehab. So this is very much a gut algae. So remember, spirulina is nourishment in, chlorella is toxins out. Spirulina because of the mitochondria in your brain. This is brain food. Think of chlorella as gut food. And of course, the two are joined by something called the vagus nerve. So they affect one another. But, or another way to think about it is spirulina AM, chlorella PM. So just to give you some guidelines. Again, there's no upper limit. It's food. The more you take, the better you'll feel. You won't notice this as much as you will spirulina because this is the one that gives you energy and focus. You will notice if you take it after alcohol, you'll be stone sober in an hour and a half because it takes that long to get fully activated. Or after a workout, you won't have muscle soreness. But this is a preventative algae. This is your recovery algae. And of course, all science, all medicine, all longevity clinics are moving us towards, thank God, finally, towards prevention. Prevention is the name of the game. Don't wait until your mitochondria start being damaged. It's never too early to start protecting them. The decline starts even as early as 30. And this is not a hardship. And this replaces other stuff. So it actually shouldn't cost you anything more. And it's effortless. If you can swallow water, you can get the nourishment in, the toxins out that your body is crying for in seconds. I prefer to chew mine. They taste great with sea salt or pistachio nuts. By the way, anyone who's paleo or carnivore, you can have these too because there are no lectins or oxalates in algae. If you don't know what lectins or oxalates are, they're these sharp proteins that plants developed to protect themselves from bugs and predators because they upset their tummies too. Well, algae is not a land plant. It started in the ocean, so it never had to develop lectins and oxalates to protect itself. So a lot of people who are carnivore, we need to get you taking these too because you're missing all that rich chlorophyll, and we want to be sure that you get the superoxide dismutase, which is not found in meat.
Sure. Well, if anybody's listening out there, you know that this is the expert on expert, Catharine Arnston, on algae, on both, chlorella and on spirulina. I see your passion. I see your zeal. I see that you just want to help people. We didn't even get to the deep dive of your pain to purpose,
I'll have to come back.
But we'll have to come back with the science in it. I think what's important if you're listening out there, if you're taking cheap spirulina or chlorella, it's probably been heated. It's probably not of good source. You probably haven't noticed the difference. And you can hear how passionate, also how confident Dr. Catharine Arnston is on her product because she's got a lot of testimonials. People are using it. NFL players are using it. So we're going to chat afterwards and see how available we can make it in Africa and South Africa. But if you're listening out there, there is hope. Maybe just wrap up with just a message of hope, Catharine, because people,
absolutely,
they're in trouble. They're struggling, just with the traumas around in the world. And I think they do need more hope.
Yes, I agree completely because also without hope. And so part of, I'll share with you that I'm turning 70, that's 70 next year. And so one of the things, the spirulina and chlorella are my go-to for maintaining my energy and my health and help me with my sleep and I poop well, walk well. But my passion and my belief that these two foods have an incredible opportunity to heal the world gives me so much life. I have a purpose. I need to get these out to the world so that other people can feel better because to live your life requires energy. And so when you don't think there's hope of ever getting your energy back or getting your health back. It's depressing. And so you withdraw even more, you don't try anymore, and that's a downward spiral, energetically, spiritually, emotionally. I get it. I see it everywhere. So I am so blessed because I have found, I've only found science. I found the science and I found the product, but it's been around for 4 billion years. So I tell people algae isn't new, it's just new to you. And you may not have known about quinoa or chia or matcha or bone broth or collagen until somebody educated you on it. So I'm educating you about spirulina and chlorella because it has the potential to save people's lives, to save our environment. And when you have more energy, you're feeling more confident about yourself. You can go out and engage with life. And when you're engaging with life again, then that brings you hope, that brings you love, that brings you community, and you feel that you're part of something. We're trying to start really a community, an evolution, a revolution about good health using the gifts that have been provided to us by Mother Nature, but you need to be sure you're getting the highest quality. This is something that has been around forever, just never explained or never provided to you in a really perfect form. So we are in a challenging time. We've been through challenging times before. So I want to remind you that algae is here for you. I wrote a little book called The Algae Love Story because it will love your body back to life. It was what got me going. I loved my sister. I wanted to love her back to life. And when you have life, you have hope. And when you have hope, you have life. You see how they are cross-pollinate one another? So, but you need to start somewhere. We're being told what all these things we can't have and we can't eat because of the damage. I'm telling you about something you can have. I'm telling you something that you can add and that it's effortless. So please visit us at ENERGYbits.com. Use the discount code THRIVE if you're here in America. We do ship around the world. If you and just give it a try. Give yourself a 30 or 60 or 90-day trial, and you'll see. I promise you will feel different. It's good for your children, your pets, your grandparents. There's no drug interactions. It's Mother Nature at her finest. And like I said, we just provide you with the cleanest, safest version of it so you'll get the best value. So there is hope for us. We will turn the corner, and algae is going to be one of the things that's going to help us do that.
Brilliant. And we'll put those links in the show notes, and ENERGYbits and Instagram and LinkedIn. I see you on there as well.
Yes, at ENERGYbits. We have lots of great science. I've recorded 200 teaching videos. They're only about a minute long, so you don't have to watch for a long time. But yeah, and you can come to the website and just watch the videos or read our blog. It's full of science. We're very science driven.
Well, just want to declare favor and blessing over you, Catherine, that you would just rise up into this incredible calling. You know, at your age, there's just so much zeal, there's so much passion, there's so much energy. I love the way you speak. I love the way you know the science, and that you've just got it within you. It's in your heart and it's overflowing. Yes. So thank you for your time. A warm welcome to South Africa, and we'll host you here. We've hosted podcast guests before to come in and plug into my network and go to the Cape Towns and go to the Vic Falls of the world. We would love to have you and your family.
Okay, well, thank you so much, and hopefully one day.